I'd like to call this meeting to order. This special quorum court, we're meeting for the purpose is to continue working on itemizing pertaining to the 2016 budget process, and the prayer and the pledge is going to be handled by J.P. Butch Pond. J.P. Pond.
We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the opportunity to be here freely, to be here to serve the people of Washington County, that pray that we would mind you in our words and deeds. All this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Pond. Karen, would you call the roll, please?
Daniel Balls. Here. Harvey Bowman. Here. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Here. Lisa Ecke. Here. Ann Harbison. Here. Sharon Lloyd. Here. Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison. Here. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell.
Here.
Gary McHenry.
Here.
Joe Patterson.
Here.
Butch Pond.
Here.
Bill Essery.
Here.
J.P. Patterson, we're glad to have you back. I'm glad you're feeling better. First, the next thing you have is the agenda in front of you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The agenda is adopted. We are going to go right into the budget reviews. The first on the budget is going to be the Extension Office. That's going to be page 157 in your finance book. Bernie, please identify yourself, and you are recognized.
All right. Thank you, Judge. I'm Bernie Kurtz, County Extension Agent Staff Chair. J.P. Butch Pond had requested that we have Ms. Blake Rogers to do a little presentation. She was with us about a month ago, and J.P. Pond had asked her to come back. Blake.
Blake, you're recognized.
Thank you. What is 4-H? That is a question every 4-H'er has been asked at least once in their 4-H career. But what is 4-H really? Hi, I'm Blake Rogers. I have been in 4-H for 10 years, and I am the Greenland 4-H President, the Washington County 4-H Council President, a Washington County 4-H Ambassador, and an Arkansas State 4-H Ambassador. As a member of 4-H, you will find a project that is a perfect fit for your interest. The possibilities are almost endless. Just a few examples are bicycling, gardening, and food preservation. Many 4-H'ers have been able to turn these interests into scholarships that help them far into the future. One of the most important and beneficial things that 4-H'ers can do is create a record book. In these record books, 4-H'ers establish their main project and 3 other projects. Throughout the year, we write down everything we do in our main project, other project, leadership, and community service projects. With advanced record books, we can qualify to interview for state record book winners. State record book winners receive a college scholarship. As a high school senior, your record book will be very helpful as you apply for the many 4-H scholarships. You will also find yourself using your record book as you apply for other scholarships and college admission. As a 4-H'er, there are many local, county, district, and state events to participate in. At the local level, you can attend club meetings, run for club officer, and participate in club events. At the county level, you can compete in many events that will qualify you for district events. Also at the county level, you may participate in workshops like canning and sewing. You can attend county council meetings and hold an officer position. District 4-H-O-Rama allows you to meet and compete with your peers from counties in your district. And at the state level, you can attend conferences, workshops, and camps. You can compete in events with an even larger group of your peers from the entire state. 4-H is unique in that it truly has something for everyone. No matter your interest or abilities, 4-H has something that everyone will love and can benefit from. I am so thankful to be a part of this great organization. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Or would you just like to start answering questions?
I'll just answer the questions at this time.
Okay? Someone have a question for? No questions? Then do I have a motion to approve this budget?
Move to approve the budget for the extension office.
Any other discussion on this? I did. Robert did. Okay. Yes, go right ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, this was not the budget that was originally presented, so it might be good to make sure in our motion we state the amount so that we know which one we're all voting on.
Is that what we're all looking at? Okay, so that's an agreement. All in favor of adopting this budget, say aye. Aye. Pose same sign.
No.
You're fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Bernie. Next thing we have is our county health, page 111. Who's going to present? Okay, there, I didn't see you back there, Robin. Sorry. You're recognized.
I'm Robin Thomas. I'm the administrator of the Washington County Health Department.
Do you want to make a statement, or you just want to take questions?
I can take questions.
Are there any questions for Robin? Do I have a motion to adopt her budget? Are we still looking at our, okay, go right ahead, yeah. It's page 111.
I make a
Yeah.
motion we pass.
Okay, I
Thank
have
you.
a motion and a second. We have discussion. J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on your small equipment line 2002? That's a big jump from 2015 to 2016.
Yes.
Can you give an explanation for that, please?
Yes, ma'am. We have some equipment in the building we need to replace. And so last year, with the implementation of the new phone system, we had actually moved money into our phone line because our phone bill kept increasing. So this year, because our phones have switched over to the new computer system, we don't need as much in the phone line that we had, and we want to move it into small equipment to replace a couple of environmental refrigerators that we had for, and what we keep in those refrigerators are food samples from restaurants that we inspect. We also keep animal heads when we do rabies, and we have to send them off to the state office. I know. It's interesting. It's an interesting job. It's a very interesting job. So, but that's what we're wanting to do with that money.
Are your refrigerators, are they purchased brand new, or they purchased refurbished or new, or?
We use the contract that you guys have. I believe the last one we bought came from, I want to say Lowe's, and so it was $300. It's not bad at all. But we're not opposed to buying refurbished, and we've even talked to, I believe it's your Department of Equality Affairs, or Environmental Affairs. I'm sorry.
So these are not industrial refrigerators.
Oh,
These
no,
are just home
no.
refrigerators.
That's right, and it's just to keep the specimen cool. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be kept at a certain temperature. It's not as, tough as keeping
So
vaccine.
$300 is one refrigerator, and how many do you plan on purchasing?
We plan on purchasing 2, and then the rest of the money in that is to replace equipment that started, we need to replace. And I say equipment, but it's stuff like staplers and stuff like other things we've replaced is TVs in our waiting areas for our patients. We have to have what our federal grants call white noise. So it's things to keep us HIPAA compliant so that patients don't overhear conversations going on in the hallways and things like that.
And how many TVs are those?
We have 4 waiting areas.
Okay. So 4 waiting areas, 4 televisions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you run anything special on them, cable, or is it just the static fuzz?
They're connected to our internet. So we run CDC, has little bites. And so if you're in our women's
Okay.
health area, it's dealing with women's health issues. WIC, it would be nutrition. Child health, it would be vaccinations, other child health issues.
Do you have any other plans? I'm trying to add this up, and it's
Oh, I
not adding up to
understand. No, I
$7,000.
understand. Yeah, I understand. I don't have any further
Just staples,
staples. Yes, ma'am.
refrigerators, and TVs.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Judge.
J.P. Harbison.
Okay, I see that your budget is flat.
Yes, ma'am.
Same as it was last year, and so, I think what you're doing is
Ann, put your mic on, please. Thank you.
the money that was used for telephones, you're keeping that money to replace needed equipment as you need it.
Right.
And it may not be that much this year.
It may not, and if it's
But
not,
then-
we won't spend it.
Then it won't be spent. I'm going to move that we pass this budget.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh,
so
we
we're in-
already
We're in
do?
discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. Can you remind me the sort of history of the county's support of the health department? Because I know that it may have been when I came onto the court that there were a few years where we were not providing you all any support, and you came back and asked us for an amount. So I'm kind of trying to remember the history, and I say that because one of the things I look at is last year a large part of what we gave you, although it's not a tremendous amount, went toward the phones,
Correct.
that upgrade.
Correct.
And I think we all anticipated some cost savings.
Correct.
And then the budget's flat, so we're not really seeing any of those savings yet because you're using the budget other ways. But I'm wondering, sort of, we've kind of had a deal in the past, and I wanted
Correct.
to be reminded of that.
So you really have two questions, and I'll answer the second one first because your second question is last year's budget. So I believe we asked for $43,000.
Okay.
But we also took a $2,500 cut off of our budget as well because I believe you guys had asked if we would be willing to do that since we were getting a new phone system, and we said yes, we were willing to do that. And so this year, instead of asking for the $2,500 back, we felt like we could live with what we had.
Okay.
And with the exception of moving money into small equipment to replace some things that we've got. Now, the history of the health department with the county government is that the state provides all of the positions, so all of the staff that we need to run the clinic. They provide the medical equipment that's needed and any medical supplies that we need. In return, the county supplies they supply the building. You supply the buildings and grounds, housekeeping, and phone systems as needed. So actually last year we created a MOA because I believe you guys had asked if we would be willing to do that, so we did that.
Right, okay.
And so every year after the budget is approved, we write a new MOA with the new budget
The new
amounts
amount.
and get it signed.
What was the historical amount, though, prior to last year?
Well,
You know?
I do because I
Because
brought my.
I have a
brought my-
recollection of you coming back and saying, can you support us again, that there'd been a lapse sort of in there.
I believe.
sometime.
Well, I've only been with the health department. This is my third year,
Okay.
but the previous administrator and the budget I have in front of me. I don't know if y'all have the same thing, but in 2012, their budget had been cut to $10,000.
Well, that's expenditures. That's what I was trying to figure out, what
Oh.
the historical
Okay.
budget was, but.
If I remember correctly, it had been as high as 30,000, and then
Okay.
had been cut to as low as about 12, and then has come back up.
Do we support your IT?
No.
Do we-
That's supported by the state.
Okay.
So we have separate cabling systems coming into the building. So you have the county lines, and then you have the state lines.
So we're not providing your internet?
No, you're not.
Okay. But the phone system that we provide is supported by the internet,
It
right?
is. So that's why we have. I know. So that's why
Okay.
we have two. We have two separate Cox lines coming into the building. One is the county's line, which the HIV clinic is even on that line as well. And then the other Cox line coming into the building are the state internet lines.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
J.P. Patterson. Did you have your hand up? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Any other question, any other discussion? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Gary McHenry? Yes. Joe Patterson? Yes. Butch Pond? Yes. Bill Ussery? Yes. Daniel Balls? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Yes. Rick Cochran? Robert Dennis? Yes. Lisa Ecke? Yes. Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd? Yes. Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Yes. Sue Madison? Yes. Joel Maxwell?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Our next budget is our HIV clinic, page 205 and 206. Please identify yourself, and you are recognized.
Hi, I'm Linda McGee, Medical Director of the HIV Clinic. And I don't have a statement. I'm just here to answer questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for Dr. McGee? Do I have a motion to adopt her budget? Okay, well, Judge, I'm sorry. Okay. J.P. Bowman for discussion.
Thank you, Judge. On the general supplies, you're asking for $3,400 this year, and it looks like the past few years has not been very much in that line at all. What's the $3,400 for?
I'm not sure. I may have to call on Renee to ask.
It's numbered. It's line 2001. Under supplies.
Yeah.
We just left it on there the same as last year in case of emergencies or anything that comes up that we might need. Don't plan on
things like copy
don't plan
machine
on,
would be.
Previous years, it looks like there's next to nothing being spent. I think 2013 actual expenses were $273.
Yeah, when the copy machine finally went belly up.
I'm sorry, what?
It went belly up.
Oh.
The copy machine, I think that's how the money got spent. We basically don't spend any money unless something breaks.
The money, I'm saying.
We don't spend money unless something breaks. The furniture's all donated. We're real cheap. And we took off 1,000 when the new phone system went in. We went down 1,000 on the internet connection because of the phone system being in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we do have a motion and we do have a second. Is that correct? Any other discussion? All in favor of approving this budget, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Dr. McGee.
Thank you.
The next thing we have is fire protection, page 149. Hello.
Hi, Judge. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Chris Coker with the Washington County Fire Association.
You have a statement or you just want questions?
No statement, just questions.
Okay. Anyone got questions for Mr. Coker? J.P. Harbison?
Well, I'm going to move, it's a flat budget. I'm going to move passage of the fire department's.
Got the motion and a second.
Budget.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor for passing this budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Next budget we have is Quorum Court. Karen, are you going to answer questions from over there, or are you going to make statements
Here's
from
good.
over there?
Well, I'm going to answer questions.
Any of you have questions about your budgets?
Page?
That's 91. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, J.P. Madison.
The other professional services increase, is that the city's contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you must have cut us elsewhere, which I'm fine with that, so. Oh, and then advertising, that's the cost of ordinances that we have to publish?
Yes, we
Okay.
reduced it some because it's not been running that high. So, of course, if y'all pass a lot, we have to come back for more, but that's what it's all for.
What do we lease?
Copier.
Oh,
We
okay.
share with the county judge's office.
And so is that just like a half of a copier or something?
It's 80% because we run most of the copies in court.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
J.P. Lundstrom.
J.P. Madison already asked my question, Judge. Thank you.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Judge. Karen, can you just clarify? It looks like we had mileage for 2012 and 2013, nothing in 14, budgeted for 8,000 in 15, and then nothing requested for 16. Can you just tell me how that's?
Yes, prior to the way it's currently handled, we paid mileage at the end of the year, so it came out of the mileage line item. Now that it's part of the salary part, it's paid out of part-time salaries. And we will need to be moving that money up for this year up to part-time salaries because you're currently 94% expended in that line item in your budget for this year. And so next year we went ahead and just put that in there because that was the amount of money that was placed aside for mileage to and from Quorum Court meetings.
So it was budgeted for this year at 8,000, but then nothing is actually being paid out of that line item. It's been
Right.
flipped.
It's being paid out of part-time salaries.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussions? Go ahead. Okay, J.P. Lundstrom.
I need to ask Ms. Beeks is that being paid on a routine basis or still going to be an end of the year payment, or are you paying mileage on every meeting?
Every meeting, it's in your paycheck every 2 weeks. It's for a part of that.
Okay.
J.P. Madison.
Since I know some members of the court have, including myself, have been objected to that, I'm not okay with moving it in the budget. I think it should stay where it's been historically. So I would move to pass this budget, but moving the $8,000 addition to salaries part-time back to the mileage line item.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Did I have a hand go up? It's okay. J.P. Ecke?
If I may, Madam Judge, address Justice Eva Madison to give an explanation on a little bit more detail of why you would want that moved back to the mileage just for the future. I mean, just to give, would you mind elaborating a little bit on that? Just to get some clarification, please. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
you're
Madam Judge.
recognized.
That's just the issue that we've talked about, is whether our mileage is reimbursement or income. And I think it belongs as an expense still. And I think that's what the court thinks. And so I think it should stay as a mileage expense. So.
My follow-up question, Judge, would be, have we come to a resolution on what the IRS says on that? Because certain accountants say one thing and others say different.
I'll ask Jay.
I mean, if I could have been absent and didn't know if there was a resolution to that.
Attorney
Thank
Zaga?
you.
Thank you, Judge. There's been no difference in their information to us, and I haven't asked since May, maybe June. And the answer to your question is, my belief is that the IRS takes a position that it's income. A tax, that's not true. It's a taxable fringe.
I'm going to just about this just a bit before it tries to compute. Thank you.
J.P. Lundstrom.
Well, everybody already knows my position on this, but I'm really opposed to this. This actually, I've said this before. I don't know that saying this is going to make any difference, but this puts us in income tax avoidance for like 8 years. For people like Mr. Zaga, it's more years than that. Because we've been, if this is taxable, we should have been paying tax on it all these years. Every business I know of, when you go out and spend your money first and then the company gives you the money back, they call it reimbursement. They don't call it income. And where this all came from all of a sudden, I don't know. I don't agree with the lady at the IRS or whoever they've talked to. Every accountant that we've talked to says it's reimbursement. And they're all dealing with the IRS every day. So I don't know, but the way we're doing it now, if it's just in that paycheck, you don't know whether you're getting reimbursed for your mileage or not. When I looked at my last notice, I didn't see it. Does it say on there so much for mileage on your little sheet you send out? Or is it just so much income? Last sheet I got, it just said I was receiving so many dollars going to be electronically transferred. But I didn't see a notation on there that one was one was mileage and one was salary. But anyway, I would just like for somebody to really look into this a lot harder than we have and see if we can't get this straightened out. It also has an impact on Social Security if it's salary. So I would like to see us put more effort into finding out what it is. Thank you, Judge.
Hang on just a minute. J.P. Harbison?
It is on her statement, but that's I'm going to vote against this because I don't know what to do about this. I mean, we've got all this argument. It's been going on for months and months and months and months. I mean, we've done this for 2 years, I think, at least that. And I think it's time we put this thing to bed, one way or the other. And so I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
Yes, Attorney Zega.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you got a memo from me probably 60 days ago or so on this subject, and the detailing my reasons and belief that backed up some research I did back in January and February. I'll make the following 2 comments in general to y'all. Not that it matters, Justice Lundstrom, but I never took mileage while I was on the Quorum Court. I lived about a mile from here, and I just.
Okay. Well, you don't know as much as I do.
However, having said that, that does not alter my obligation to A, give you the best legal advice that I know how, and B, protect the county. I have said this repeatedly, and I'll say it aloud again. I have yet to see one of these accountants or tax lawyers put on his or her letterhead the statement, for the county's use and benefit, these monies are reimbursements and not taxable. I would gladly cede my opinion to his or her opinion if they did that. And that puts his or her malpractice or E&O on the line for us if we get audited. I haven't seen that. I've seen some personal accountant letters taking that position. Those don't inure to the county's benefit. We're not their client. We're not paying for their services. And so if that letter is forthcoming, I would be happy to change my advice to payroll office and the county judge on this issue. But until then, my belief is that to simply say we're going to declare these monies to be reimbursement mileage and not commuting reimbursement or taxable fringe benefits is to risk an audit and to risk unnecessarily penalties and interest to the IRS. That's and for more detail, y'all can see my memo. Thank you.
J.P. Ecke, did you not have your hand up? Okay, I'm sorry. J.P. Madison, well, hang on, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. My accountant works for me, and the advice he has given me is that this is a reimbursement for mileage, and that's the way he's going to handle it. And I think it is important for the court to know how much we spend on mileage and not let it all get run together. I don't think any of us considers this as income. We get X dollars income for coming to a meeting, and the other odd part of that is the mileage, and I think it's important that it stays separated so that we know how much was appropriated for mileage in case we go over it. So the county's free to go get another accountant and pay them for their advice, but my accountant works for me and not for the county, and gives me advice, which I follow, and I've never had a problem with it yet. Thank you. I will be voting in favor of this.
J.P. Lundstrom?
Well, I would just like to make the point that if doing this as reimbursement puts us in risk of an audit, then we've been under risk of an audit for a number of years, because I will be here 9 years at the end of this year. And this is the only year that it's been considered payroll. So, thank you, Judge.
Any other discussion? Yes, J.P. Maxwell.
Is it my understanding correct that we all get different amounts of money reimbursed to us, or paid to us, excuse me? So if it's compensation or a fringe benefit, how does it differ from one JP to the next, I guess, if it's not a reimbursement for the actual miles driven from your home office?
Judge.
Yes, please.
There are two parts to that question. The first is the simple mathematical calculation, and that is you're reimbursed based on the number of miles your residence that you have provided to Ms. Beeks is from the courthouse. So that's one part. The second part is the way the IRS treats commuting versus reimbursement. Okay, and this is much like, and I almost hate to open this can of worms, but I'm going to. It's much like the discussion we've been having on county employees who take vehicles home at night and then come back to work. Okay, the county provides a vehicle, gas, oil maintenance, routine running of the vehicle. That's a commuting expense. It's taxable. And everybody should be getting, and as far as I know, they are getting taxed on that. If you go from your house to work, in general, the IRS counts that as commuting and not reimbursement expenses in general. And again, my memo goes in a whole lot more detail on this. Actually, it's Laney's memo that I read and endorsed and backed up the research I did in the winter on this particular issue. But to make a long story short, if you are getting reimbursed X dollars per check because, as you do, Justice Maxwell, you probably live the farthest of any JP from the courthouse, I would guess, you're going to get hit harder than anybody else for that reason.
I guess two things to that. One is, since we're driving our own vehicles and we're paying for the vehicle, the maintenance, the fuel, all that stuff, it effectively is a reimbursement by every standard I can find. And as far as I know, we're the only entity that I've ever dealt with in this that treats this as compensation. So because of that, and because it's different for all of us, it looks a whole lot like, to me, and I think you even used the word reimbursement. I'm having a hard time making this a compensation, so I'm going to be in support of this just because I see we have a history of that. Everything I can find under our IRS rules, accountants, et cetera, all line up with that. And so I'm a little uncomfortable with this sudden change, so I'll be in support of it.
Did you have another comment?
Just one. I have other local governments, at least, handle this somewhat differently. A good friend of mine is a city attorney from North Little Rock. North Little Rock pays aldermen a mileage stipend or a travel stipend that I am given to, and it's a flat fee. Of course, it's a city limits, and they all live relatively close to City Hall. But I'm given to understand that they tax it. So Washington County would not be the only entity doing this.
J.P. Harbison?
Since the county staff and the Quorum Court have one attorney, and his recommendation, even if we vote for this as reimbursement, I don't think it changes anything with the county. I think it's still going to be taxed. Now, they have that prerogative to do that, unless you want to bring suit against them, which I guess you could. I think we're beating this dead horse even more. I mean, this has been going on for months. Every time it comes up, we have this discussion. So that's my comment.
J.P. Pond?
I don't like to pay any more taxes than I have to. But if there's any doubt whether I need to pay a tax on something or not, I'd just soon pay it to stay on the safe side. I'm going to take Steve's advice. But I believe really all we're voting for I believe, I want to make sure I got this right, is putting the mileage on a separate, making it a separate item. And that's not going to change anything as far as the tax goes or anything else. If I vote yes for this, that doesn't mean that I'm not taking Steve's advice that I ought to be paying tax on this compensation that I'll be getting for my mileage. Basically, I'm voting yes, so we can just get this thing behind us again tonight and get on back to business. But really, I believe this was just brought up to just have another dog and pony show. Thank you.
Okay, so now, are we ready? The vote on this is to do the line item transfer. Is this correct, Eva? Madison? Tell me your motion again.
Yeah, the motion is simply to pass the budget, but to move back the mileage from salaries to the mileage line item.
And we have a second on that.
We do.
So,
Karen.
oh, yes, Karen, I'm sorry.
I just want to point out that right now, it's being paid at a part-time, and that will be continued the same. And you are, at the end of December, that line item is almost 95% expended. So if you move $8,000 back in the mileage, I really think you should consider adding more money to that line item, because you are going to go over, just like will be this year. You will have to add money to your part-time salaries in order not to go over budget in that line item. Just wanted to
J.B. Madison?
I'm not going to alter our budget for this. I think we'll deal with it later if we have to, but I understand what people are saying, what J.P. Pond and J.P. Harbison are saying, but at some point, the Quorum Court needs to say what its philosophy, what its declaration of principle is, and if another elected official disagrees, then so be it. But this is important to a lot of us. We want to follow the advice of our accountants, and so this is our way to declare what our view is on the subject. And that's what I think about how we should vote on this.
J.P. Pond?
I'm taking Steve's advice and Karen's advice. If we're voting to change this and then we're not going to add to the budget, I'm going to vote no.
J.P. Lundstrom?
Well, I'm more than happy to take Mr. Zaga's advice too, as long as I can, see that somebody's giving him the right advice. But what my concern is, like he's got a concern about an audit for the county, I've got a concern about an audit from the IRS on me. I've dealt with these people before, and you don't pay taxes for 8 or 9, 10 years, they put some pretty big, little penalties on that when they come looking for their money. It's not a huge amount of money, but over a 10-year period, mine would probably run between $5,000 and $7,000. It's not a lot of money, but the penalties could be considerably higher than just what I would owe in taxes on back taxes. So I consider that a real issue. We went all these years without being taxed for exactly the same thing, and now suddenly we're being taxed. The IRS has a way of seeing that kind of stuff. In the business world, we call it a red flag going up. And they see those things, and then they come back and want their money. So that's my only real concern about it, is that could happen someday, and have to send them a few $100, that we probably shouldn't have to send them. Thank you, Madam Judge.
Okay. Are we ready for the roll call? Carly?
Gary McHenry? Yes. Joe Patterson? Yes. Butch Pond?
No.
Bill Ussery?
No.
Daniel Balls?
No.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran? Robert Dennis?
No.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
No.
Sharon Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Joe Maxwell?
Yes.
It passed.
9-5.
9-5, it passed. Okay. So now we have completed the budget with the line item transfer. Is this not correct? Okay. Okay. Then we'll move on to the next budget, which is county general transfers out. Cheryl, are you handling that?
Yes, I can do that.
It'll be page 159.
Any questions?
Yes, J.P. Madison.
I would just appreciate an explanation for it.
I actually have one. That money is what we transfer every year to the HIV clinic. We pay half of the salaries, and Benton County pays half the salaries. They pay us twice a year. They pay us once every 6 months, and we do our transfer usually at the first of the year. So,
I like looking at a budget that was $2 million and is now $38,000. What's happened there?
it's money that we've had to transfer. That's probably monies that we've transferred to jail and the different ones. I can go back and look.
Okay,
but
it's not
I
all for the
believe
HIV clinic.
No, that did not go to the HIV clinic.
Wow.
It's the same amount every year to the HIV clinics. It's the $38,000.
Okay, then I would move to pass the Department 8888 interfund transfers budget.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, next thing we have is flexible spending, page 163. Cheryl, is that yours?
I can do that. It's really not flexible. It's not an option on that. That is the options that the county employees can opt to take through different companies. It's like long-term disability, cardiac care, mostly just specialized insurances and things that they can take. If they sign up for it, that money comes out of their paycheck and we send it to the vendor. It's totally paid through the employees.
I also would like to say that's one of those accounts that the employees put in what they think they're going to use, but they either use it or lose it. And they understand that when this happens. That's it. But I just wanted everyone to, J.P. Harbison.
Oh, I'll move passage of the flex spending budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Court costs and fines.
And that is exactly what it says. It's the cost and fines that we collect in the courts that we set aside in this fund, and it's the payments or what we pay for the historic courthouse bond.
What page number, please, Judge?
Oh, I'm sorry, 209?
I'm sorry, 209. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions on that? J.P. Harbison?
I move passage of the courts and fines budget.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'm just curious, are these fines earmarked for the old courthouse, or that's just the way we historically do it?
No, that's
Judge, may I engage?
Yes, would you please?
This particular, we're obligated on the bonds to use the
For the
court costs. Yes.
Okay.
It's essentially a contract on the bond to pay with the court costs and fines.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of passing this budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next thing we're going to have here is the revised 2016 budget request from the Road Department. Oh, well, I don't have a page on that, so, okay. Donnie? Is Donnie here? Okay, do you want to pull up a chair and come up here with Sean and George in case they have questions for you?
What page are we on?
Page 165, okay.
165.
Thank you.
That'd be the budget's been passed. This is revision, yeah. Okay, John, you're recognized.
Okay. I sent out a letter last week and kind of explained everything, or I hope everything. So I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Sean? Yes, J.P. Madison?
I'm just curious, what are the different projects that we're planning on doing?
What do you mean? On which part?
Well, I would expect that if you're asking for more money, that you've decided to do a certain road, or that there's projects that are planned for within that. So I'm just curious, with the additional funds, what additional projects you plan to take on?
Well, no, in the letter it states why on the regular budget there was a change in, if you remember, you asked about the chip sealing and how we'd had a few problems. Well, when we made the change, we changed where we were getting the chips. We changed the size just by availability. Well, that changed the formula or the rate at which we have to do our chip seals. So the new rate requires more chips and more chip seal oil, which in turn, based on the miles we have on our resale program, it increased it by that much. That's for that one. Is that what you meant?
Well, no, I guess not all of them, because so that would affect, it seems, maybe the gravel, dirt, and sand line item?
And the asphalt.
And asphalt.
In the regular budget.
Well, but for instance, you're asking for $30,000 more in bridges and steel, so I'm just curious what project that's going to go for. It sounds like the other one's an increase in cost.
Right. And as the letter mentions, and I even mentioned it last time, there is several bridges or small boxes that we need to replace. I mentioned that we have a lot of old WPA boxes, and we'd like to replace them as if we can, and just this would allow us to do that.
I guess I'm confused about, is it just because there's more now projected more revenue that you're asking for more money, or is it that you've actually had a shift in sort of what your plans are for next year?
Do you want me to read the letter? Because that was all in there. That's exactly what it was. Back in August, when we presented our budget, we were given an amount to budget off of, that $9,222,426. Well, of course, as it went on, the projections changed, and so we felt it important. We gave a pretty lean budget, and it states in there why we even left some, and so we want to do what's best for the citizens of Washington County, and with this extra money, we feel like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to update some bridges, or some box culverts, some tile. Of course, the change in the chip seal, that's just making it better too.
I guess the struggle that I'm having with the logic is that you don't spend more money simply because you have it. You map out your year, you decide what you're going to do, you plan for your projects, you decide how much it costs. You don't change plans because suddenly there's more money. It just seems like, because I know when we were here before, I commented about what looked to be over $1 million that would be remaining in your unappropriated reserves, and you seemed fine with that. You said that you felt like you were trying to trim your budget down and not spend that money and save that money, and now you're asking to spend it. And so I'm a little puzzled by that, because
I don't understand what's puzzling about it. There was an amount we were given, and as time went on, those amounts changed. We gave them a budget based on the amount we were given in August, turned in that budget. That amount changed. There's always things we can do for the roads, and that money that we found was available. Of course, we want to use it. We want to spend it on the people.
Well, but realize too that it's not totally available. Just because money's there doesn't mean we should spend it. We should spend it because it's the right thing to do. It's the wise thing to do. And keep in mind that right now, your revenue figures are showing 40% of the general purpose county's 1 cent sales tax that could be used for other purposes. So just because there's money sitting there doesn't mean that you all should buy more dump trucks. It means that this court should decide what's the best way for that money to be spent. And I appreciate that you're coming back and saying you have other things you want to do, but I saw that money sitting there as a way to think about doing things like giving employees raises or boosting our unappropriated reserves, because that money could be considered general purpose dollars. It's not necessarily like your road millage that's dedicated for your use, or your share of the statewide half-cent sales tax that's dedicated for your use. So I want the court to think really carefully about this shift. It's a big shift. This is money that could help us pay for raises, not just bonuses. This is money that could help us boost the reserves that we've been trying to do. And if a budget that was presented earlier in the year was satisfactory to the road department, I have a hard time seeing how, just because now there's more money, we should spend it.
It wasn't satisfactory. I mean, I went over that last time I was here. It was a bare bones based on the numbers we were given.
Well, I can't support this because I think that this court is hard pressed with money. And if we've got a department that's got so much money, they're trying to figure out extra ways to spend it, I think we need to look at if that's the best way to spend it. So thank you, Judge.
J.P. Pond.
I guess maybe some of us didn't read the letter. I read the letter, and I'm kind of wondering if you or George or Steve might want to read that letter at this meeting, because it's pretty self-explanatory. One situation, and I'm supportive of your request.
Thank you.
Obviously, there's need for improvement on the county roads. It's unfortunate that the roads, our transportation system, our roads, it's one of the most important things that government provides, whether you're talking about a community, a county, a state, or a country. It's unfortunate that the transportation system, the roads, is what gets put on the back burner or cut short when there's not enough money to go around, because the roads is what keeps the economy going. And I know there's always more to be done. I live out there, and I certainly appreciate what you do. And I know that if you get more money, you're able to improve more of the county roads. And it's good for the economy, for not just the rural area, but for the cities. Sometimes people don't understand what's going to happen if the county roads are not continually improved and maintained. Most of the people living in the city don't want a chicken farm built right next door to them, because that's where the roads are good. And I've been told that's what's happening right up in the edge of Springdale at this time. I haven't driven by to look. But, I'll use Springdale for an example again. You start putting weight limits on dilapidated bridges, and you're not able to repair those bridges, you're not able to maintain those roads, and then let's say, for instance, chicken trucks and feed trucks can't get across those bridges or down that road. Is that good for the city of Springdale? That's just one example. But that happens over and over again. You cut the road budget short. The road department tries to make do with what they get. You complain to the road department you're spending too much money, and they cut back. And then you complain because they didn't spend all the money. It seems like the road department, for some reason, can never satisfy some individuals. I know you're doing what you can with the money you receive.
Butch.
Well, Justice.
Point well taken.
Justice Maxwell, would you articulate your point of order, please?
I was thinking that we were going to keep our comments directed with questions or whatever with the road department and not toward each other. That's my understanding.
Judge, I believe that the point's well made.
Okay. But that's it.
Well, that would then give cue to Justice Pond to modify his comments, if you rule that way.
Okay. I'll go ahead and rule in favor of the point of order. And if you want to change your comments, you may, or we can go ahead and move on.
I apologize for getting out of line, Justice Maxwell. But I do want to pay a compliment to the road department and what they've done. The roads in this county are better than they were 20 years ago. They're better than they were 10 years ago. They're better than they were 5 years ago. And it helps people get back and forth. It helps them travel to and from where they need to go. And I thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Butch.
J.P. Harbison.
Okay, I'll try to, you've asked for $708,000 more dollars to be added to your budget for roads, and you itemized those things out in like asphalt, culverts, to build the concrete culverts and get those built back up, replace those. So you've really got a big agenda for this next year to improve the county roads. We also still have 47 impaired or weight limited bridges in this county. I know the judge doesn't want me saying anything about bridges or
okay.
taking on any more bridges, but, you know, at some point that's going to have to be taken on. Either contract them out or whatever. This gives us the money to do that. I want you to look at that map over there. That shows the districts. That gray far there is Maxwell's. That blue's mine, and that other one is Butch's. We take in over 2/3 of the county, and those are where the county roads are. We owe it to the people of this county. We owe it to the citizens in Fayetteville and Springdale and Tawnytown to improve these county roads. I want to see every county road chipped and sealed in this county. That should be the goal. I know it's going to be hard to get right-of-way some places, but we need to do that. It's good for the economy. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the $708,000 addition to the county roads.
I have a motion and a second. Okay, I have about 3 more that I need to recognize as discussion. J.P. Lundstrom.
Well, just a matter of clarification. I'm looking at the budget that says $7,891,459. Is that the one we're all using?
Well, no.
No.
The addition.
One we're using is $8 million.
8 million even?
$8,449,000.
And then we're wanting to add this 708,000 to that. Thank you, that's all I need to know.
J.P. Maxwell.
Thank you, Judge. I just have a couple of questions. I know that the capital outlays were cut last year or frozen. So I know that when you look on your first page of your letter, the bullet points or whatever that you've attributed to being not able to accomplish due to budget cuts, I totally get that one, the new and additional equipment because of the capital freezes, and maybe the maintenance and a couple of those things. I guess where my questions come in, I know at a previous meeting you had mentioned that because of the bridge repairs or restructuring, reconstruction around the 2 bridges that were the subject of a lot of discussion. I know at that point you mentioned that the reason that we weren't going to chip and seal several miles of road, I think 43?
No, we did do that.
Okay.
Yes, almost all of it. We have about 4 that we did not get to.
Maybe you can
5.
re-clarify, where did we get that additional manpower and money? Where did we take that from then if it's not what we originally thought, which was the paving and the chipping and the sealing of the additional roads? Because that was my understanding from you earlier this year was those money and that time and that equipment, whatever, instead of doing those forward-thinking projects, we were going to pause and redo, repair, and kind of restructure those 2 bridges. So if that's changed now, can you help me understand where the money to do those bridges came from?
Savings in fuel. The lower fuel cost is really, you think about whenever, we have all the equipment we have, burning fuel. Well, the savings, the lowered fuel costs this year, honestly, is what really helped us and kept us from coming back to this court asking for more money.
I guess I don't understand then how that improving roads and chip and seal are something that didn't get accomplished to budget cuts in this. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I just don't understand which way that is. Did we get them accomplished, or were they not able to be accomplished?
Well, like the paint striping, for instance, that did not include any paint striping of any roads except for what we did reseal. We've always tried, that paint wears off. Usually about 3 years is when we try to, especially on the heavily traveled roads. We didn't do any of that. So we didn't do any restriping of non-chip seal roads.
I guess I'm thinking specifically about the chipping and sealing of gravel roads, and then the paving of what I'm assuming either were gravel roads or chip and sealed roads prior to that. That was my understanding when you were here earlier, was those were the projects we were foregoing to make up the difference for those extra expenditures. And you're telling me now that actually we had the money to go ahead and do those projects because we saved enough money in fuel to cover that roughly $500,000.
So are you saying earlier in the year or the last meeting I was at? Because that is right. Earlier in the year, we started our chip seal late. We're usually done by now. We just finished up. We did some this week. And you do that based on the cool weather as the cool weather gets cooler. But yes, early on, we did not know that if we were going to be able to do our chip seal program this year. But as the year went along, fuel prices got better. We were able to save money there, and so that money was used to do the work on the Harvey Dow Bridge.
Okay. So if that money was able to cover those additional expenditures on those two bridges, or was it just Harvey Dow?
Well, now Stonewall, the money that was budgeted for that's just it, a budget. This whole thing is just a budget. So, that money was there. Y'all approved that money to build Stonewall.
Okay. I guess I'm thoroughly confused because at one point there was an explanation that we got from you, that there was going to be somewhere between $500,000 and 60% of $1,600,000 was what it was going to take through both labor and extra materials for the deconstruction of the one bridge, what was up, or the parts that we tore down, the repairs on the existing bridge, and then to redo and build to the new specs the unfinished bridge. Those were the numbers that you handed out to us. So at that point, I asked the question, what piggy banks are we going to break to make up that difference? And at that time, we didn't know about the fuel cost, hadn't realized all that. Your answer then was that we're going to recoup that money by just not doing the paving and the chipping and sealing. And you mentioned how many miles of that you'd kind of intended to do, but now that we didn't have the manpower, the machines were tied up, and the resources, that we were going to forego those things and use that resources, time, and money, shift that over to fix the bridges. So I guess I'm really struggling to understand, did the budget cuts keep us from doing that, as this letter says, or were we able to actually get those done?
Well, I think now you're confusing me. Right, and that's what I was trying to explain. I started out with the paint striping that's on the list here.
I just referred to the chip and seal and the paving because that's kind of where you had directed. Those were the two piggy banks that you said we were going to cut.
That was the possibility. Remember, right. I remember saying that we were going to wait. We were going to, usually we start in May and start doing the resealing. The deal was we waited to see where we were at. We got started, I think, probably August.
I guess let me break this down to another way. So were we able to do the chip and seal and the paving?
Almost all of it, about 5 miles of the resealing.
Okay, then that makes the question really easy. I don't understand then when, let's see, it's the 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph on the first page. It says, as mentioned, on October 13th, the road department has not been able to accomplish these things due to budget cuts in 2015. And not accomplished due to budget cuts, you still have improving roads, including paving gravel roads and adding material, and chip and seal up on the third bullet point. So I'm just confused, did we actually get them done, or were they not done because of a budget cut?
Not all of it was done, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to go through here I guess item by item is what I was going to start with.
I was just going to make it easier, because those are the only two
Yeah.
things that I was really
I think we
confused
need more
about.
clarification, because I thought we
Hey,
started
George,
off-
pull the mic over in front of you,
I thought we
please.
started off in what did we not get done because of the bridge work? And then it seems like it's kind of shifted over to what did we not get done because of the budget cuts?
Well,
And that, now I'm confused about that, and I think maybe Sean is too.
I'll try one more time. Originally, we were told that those roads were not going to be improved because of the extra expense for the bridges.
Possibly. Remember I
That
said
was
we're-
the first
we're
place we were
watching.
going to go, and we're going to see how much it took, and however much the bridges took, then that was going to be that much less paving and chipping seal. Totally got that. But you're telling me now that because of fuel cost reductions, we were able to do both. Most of the chip and seal and paving, that 43 miles, and I may be misremembering which ones are paving, which ones are chip and seal, not super relevant, but you're telling me the fuel cost let us make that up, so that we actually got most of that done, it sounds like. But then I'm reading this, and it says we weren't able to accomplish them due to the budget cuts, and the two things that stand out to me that are in that list of things that weren't accomplished are the chipping and sealing and the paving. So I really don't have an answer I want it to be. I just don't know if we did get it done, we didn't get it done, if it didn't get done because of budget cuts, or if it's still needs to be done. I'm just very confused about that.
Well, I think you're starting to confuse me, but I can tell you we did, of the 43 miles of reseal, we have 2 roads left.
How many
that
miles
we're
are
not going to
left?
get. One is between like 3.43, and then the other one's about a mile.
Okay.
Not saying we don't have the money there to try and get it done, but time has ran out because we were waiting so long to see if we were going to be able to do any of the reseals. The money to do the work on Harvey Dow came from savings from the fuel, not the money that was set aside for resealing. Is that what you're asking? Because the money for the reseal is a whole lot more than the money that was used for the Harvey Dow remediation.
Yes, hang on just a moment. But Donnie, can you give him an answer, please?
I don't know. I'm going to try to. We did decide early in the year to hold off on the chip seal to see where we were going to hit. Whenever he's talking about starting in April, we usually start in February or April, cleaning the shoulders up, cleaning the ditch up. And when you do that on a mile of road, it takes several days. We didn't, whenever we decided to wait, we didn't do any of that cleanup. And whenever we decided in August to do the reseals, we done those reseals without doing any of that prep work on the shoulders or ditches. So that was a savings there of saving money to try to help with the chip seal so we could go ahead and get the roads resealed.
So we did kind of short some of the projects and didn't.
We shorted a whole bunch of projects on the cleanup.
Okay.
The cleanup is whenever the ditches get filled up in the middle of them and the water doesn't run, that's why you do all that cleanup before you do that reseal. And like I said, we're about 5.5 miles short of getting the job done. But they don't like you to do reseals after about October the 15th because of the temperature change.
So it sounds
So
like
with the savings on the fuel, the savings on cutting down on not doing the cleanup, the fuel on that, that's where we come up with the money to do the chip seal. We got the chip seal roads resealed, but we don't have them striped yet. We don't have all the bridge paid for yet. So we're still, I don't know if that answers any question.
It helps some. Maybe you can quantify for me how. So it sounds like there was 3.4 miles of chip and seal road that didn't get done. Is that right?
About 5.
About 5. Okay, about 5 miles of that. And then how many miles of paving did we not do?
No paving this year.
You did no
We
paving?
knew early on we didn't have the money for that.
Okay, how many miles did we have originally scheduled to pave?
None. None for this year.
Okay.
Short of our state aid, but that's a whole nother deal.
Okay, because I recalled you were telling us that that was the other piggy bank that we might break, is if the chip and seal money wasn't enough, that we were going to tap into our asphalt and
Same
paving.
line item. It's the same line item.
Okay. But we were going to tap into that. At that time point, you had mentioned that there were miles that we were going to do. So now I guess
I
thoroughly
don't
confused.
recall that because there was never any asphalt besides our state aid jobs for this year.
So then when I look at this, it sounds like you've listed here that chip and seal is something we didn't get accomplished due to budget cuts, but we really got most of it accomplished.
No, what I'm saying there is, as a whole, yeah, the chip seal, we didn't get all of it done, but that was more time. But as far as the paint striping's not being done like it should, the maintenance of the dishes, which is what Donnie was talking about, or even just drainage problems that we have, vegetation control on the right-of-ways. Well, I mentioned earlier and asking for it next year, need another brush hog. I mean, it's just, that's a big deal. Potholes, addressing potholes. We try to get by. We're out of pothole patching material right now that we need to spend money to get more. And that's what I was addressing right there when I meant that.
I'll ask one more question and then I'll be done.
Okay.
So you have on here improving the roads and including paving gravel roads, but then you told me from the beginning of the year we didn't intend to pave any gravel roads. So
no, that's not true.
Okay,
I mean,
so
we
that's where
chip
I'm
sealed some of the gravel roads. We had 2 that we did this year. Paving, chip seal and paving in our world is 2 different things.
Right.
Asphalt is
that's why
different
I'm
than
looking
chip
at your
seal.
next to last bullet point where
Mhm.
it says includes paving gravel roads.
Mhm.
But if I understood you just a moment ago, we didn't have any roads that we were intending to pave this year.
No, pave, yes. There was none intended to pave. In my world, pave means asphalt.
Okay, so
but
if
as far as chip seal, yes.
Okay, so this on that next to last bullet point says this includes paving gravel roads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's cut back on what we've done. In the years past, we've been able to do 5 miles in a year. That's on a good year. I mean, we know what money's there. We cut back this year because we knew what we had to do. We were concerned about getting our reseals done and had some money to do some of the chip seals for gravel roads. And we accomplished some of those. So.
Okay, our next one is J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Members, I agree with J.P. Harbison. I would like to see all the roads in the county paved. But the reality is there are actually people who prefer to live on a quiet country road where people are not racing down a paved street. They like the quiet slowness of where they live. We need to realize that the number of county roads, the number of miles that the county maintains is shrinking as areas are annexed into our cities. So the area that the road department covers shrinks. I'm going to assume that any new roads approved by our planning department are at the expense of the developer and come in with some degree of paving on them. I know there was a time that subdivisions put in gravel roads, but I'm hoping those years are behind us. I'm concerned that this year we've had a rather big surprise from the circuit clerk's office where we turned out to owe a big chunk of money to the state. And I'm very concerned about what surprises might hit us in 2016. There are 3 lawsuits, I think, against the county. My fervent wish is that the county prevails in all 3 of them, but I don't have any crystal balls, and it's hard to predict how those things turn out. We could have another set of surprises, and I think one of those does involve a road department issue. So I will be voting against this. I think there is a lot of money at the road department. We've been generous with the road department, and part of that is Quorum Court doing. Part of it is out of our hands. The half-cent from the highway, state highway money, the road millage, that's out of our hands. The 40% that they continue to get of the county sales tax is in our hands, and they've gotten that for a very long time. And the other entities that share in that county sales tax have seen their percentages change. So out of respect for caution and not just worrying about our reserves, but being concerned about surprises and things we can't predict, I'm going to have to vote against this. Thank you.
J.P. Pond.
I'm thinking maybe part of the confusion here is what we had here at hand was you requesting an increase, which is for next year, and that you're very willing to take this and use it to do a little more than you were capable of doing last year because the materials cost money. This is something that you want to do next year, but we had a lot of discussion about things that happened or what last year and how you had to compensate. That's kind of where I got confused a little. I'm gonna, I take a lot of pride in Washington County, and I'm concerned about the economy of our own county, the well-being of the people that live in the county. I know we have to keep some money in reserve, but I might, be a little more, maybe I'm overly concerned about the citizens of Washington County, maybe more concerned than I am about how much money we wind up with in reserve for government. I know you were very careful and you kept some money in reserve. And I appreciate that, and I don't believe the road department's the only one that does that. I'll be voting for this, and this is for next year. This is not about last year that we did a lot of discussing about. And I'm very confident in you, and I certainly appreciate the work you do on our roads. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
This is a very aggressive program to use money to really get out there and start and get the county roads back in the conditions they need to be, cleaning the ditches out. We need another couple of dump trucks. More, if we get to a point where we don't have time to do the chip and seal, then there's a possibility that we could let out contracts to someone to finish up while the county works and get more accomplished. So this is an aggressive budget, and I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
J.P. Ussery.
Thank you. I guess a couple of things here. Number one is that we have a choice to make, and the choice is that we can continue to cut back each year. But that's just like not changing your oil in the car. You save money on oil changes, but eventually you have to replace the engine. And if we don't keep the ditches clean and we don't maintain what we have, a few years from now, we're going to have a flash flood, and it's going to take out a bunch of bridges. It's going to take out people's houses, and no telling what else. And in the end, it's going to cost the county a whole lot more money than would just to maintain what we have. And so, at least the way I look at it, these are things that we should have been doing right along. We haven't been able to, but we need to just to stay even. And while the county may have a few less miles of road than they did have, they certainly do have about the same amount of maintenance to do they've always had because of the nature of the beast, because of the paved roads, because of the miles and miles of roads that have to be chip sealed and maintained. And so, I think this is what we need to do. And I really do appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
J.P. Acton.
Thank you, Madam Judge. Sean, I'm looking at, I know you need vehicles on the tow trucks or the dump trucks, and you had requested 4 of them?
Yes.
4 dump
that's
trucks.
4 total.
4 total.
Yes.
2 to be purchased with the half-cent fund and 2 with the additional money, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
If we were to try, okay. I'm trying to prioritize where you would prioritize, saying, top of my list, I really need this. To me, it seems like you need your dump trucks because you're coming to the end of the warranty, and it's not going to be, you need to change those out. Is that correct?
Well, on the dump trucks, all of them are out of warranty.
All of them are out of warranty?
Yes.
Okay, what's coming up on 4 years where you need to?
The graders.
The graders.
The graders, that's, yes.
Okay, and that's not even in this?
No, the information and the timing, we just couldn't get all the information ready to present it at budget, so.
Okay. I agree with Justice Essery in that you need to maintain your vehicles. I really do, because that keeps you safe and it keeps you going, and you don't want it to break down. I understand that. You're going to have to kind of, I'm having a hard time with your culverts, your pipes, your concrete bridge and steel, and the asphalt. I understand that because you're going to need something in the event of winter comes in for winter storms, correct? Is that what that is?
No, the asphalt is, the asphalt in the regular budget, 0200, that is for the change in our rates that we do the oil based on the changes we just made.
Uh-huh.
We had to change chips. I think you were gone, but the supplier we were getting our chips from for our reseal or our chip seal program, they were too dusty. They weren't sticking like they should. So we switched to a supplier that washes those chips. Well, when we did that, the chips they have available are a larger chip, which in return calls for more oil and more chips. There's a formula you use, engineer, they send it to me, and this is what they say. And so it increased the amount of chips and increased the amount of oil. Roads look good. It's working like it should, but that's the drawback. So that's what that money is for, the increase of $185,000. We're going to need more oil. We're going to need more chips.
Can you find something that doesn't have so much dust in it, that isn't larger?
We hope so, but for now, they are the only ones that wash their chips in our area. And that's at the J.B. Hunt quarry. And, well, It used to be J.B. Hunt, now it's Rogers Group.
If you were to, bless you, if you were to prioritize your top three, what would be your top three?
Oh,
you know your department better than I do. What would it be?
The resale program is very important. So, I think the asphalt for sure, and the gravel goes along with that, because that kind of goes hand in hand.
Well, that's not fair.
If you'll let me, otherwise that's the top 1 and 2. But
okay,
I'd rather
1,
make
2,
it top
and then
1.
what's your 3?
2 more dump trucks would be nice, but we have the ones that we would trade in right now are probably the oldest. Again, we'd have to look at that, but we can keep repairing. That's what we're doing now. We're repairing. So I think with that, I would take that off. The culvert and pipe.
So you would take off the vehicles then?
The 2 additional ones.
The 2 additional
I still
dump
wouldn't
trucks.
want to change the 2 others.
How much is that going to be just for those 2?
The 2 additional ones, trying to think what.
We have
the
270.
270. That's
Okay,
the
so that is
270.
270. That's not all 4.
No, that's right. That's just the 2.
That's the 2.
Yes. The other 2 were asked for out of the half-cent sales
Okay.
tax budget originally. And I hate to say it again, but the culvert and pipe, the concrete, and bridges and steel really all go together, because you got to buy the steel. We make our own boxes, our own concrete boxes, and so we buy the concrete. We have to buy the steel to go in with it. So really, those 2 go hand in hand also. And the culvert and pipe, it's the same objective is replacing and improving, a lot of our smaller crossings.
So could we then eliminate the 270?
I'd rather not, but I guess that's up to y'all.
Well, let me ask you, do you want to get it compromised somewhere, or do you want it all or nothing?
Well,
you tell me what you need, and we need to make that decision, but...
obviously we need it all, or it wouldn't come back. believe me, I wouldn't have came back if I didn't really need it. I'll just leave it at that. We're trying to take care of the roads and do the best we can. We left some money available for emergencies, for winter weather. If we have a lot of winter weather, we're going to be back here asking, because none of that was budgeted. No budget for any winter weather. So I don't know what that's going to bring. They're calling for a bad
Certainly.
winter, but
Do you have any set aside for winter? Absolutely nothing.
we did not. No. As you go, the fuel budget is just that. Like I said, it's a budget. We base it off of higher than what we're seeing now. But that's if it stays low, we can absorb some of that, just like we did with the bridges. But if it goes back up, there's just so many unknowns. If the price of our chips oil goes up more than what I put in, we'll be right back here. If this quarry sees, and I shouldn't say this, but if that quarry sees they're the only ones washing chips, they're going to go up on their chips. Benton County's buying them too from there. And I guess there's just so many unknowns. We do the best we can with what we have, and we don't try to spend all of our money.
Point of order, too many meetings going on. I'm getting feedback from everybody. Don't mind.
But that money will come back to the road department. But there's just so many unknowns. So we try to do this budget. We presented this budget, with what we felt like we needed to get through next year, and that doesn't. Currently, I think there's one road that we actually are working on right now that will be ready to. It's a gravel road to chip seal, to make it a new paved road or chip seal road.
Okay, so following up with what Justice Madison was saying, your project is to finish the chip and seal, correct?
No, say that again. For this year?
For this year or for next year?
Well, this year, no, we're
You're
done.
done.
We're going to leave
Correct.
those.
So for next year?
For next year,
your
we hope to do
projects
that.
are
And actually, that's
short-term,
something.
long-term. Give me a short-term project, give me a long-term project.
Well, and let me throw this out real quick. We just decided not to do those additional 5 miles today. We decided, looking at the weather, it's getting colder.
Right.
We're not going to do it. Those 5 miles will be on next year. So that's
Okay.
5 miles that I did not include in this. So, that may come back. So hopefully not, but
Chip and seal, 5 miles. Okay.
additional miles
Additional
on top
miles.
of the 53, I think, is what we have for next year.
And then what's another project?
Well, those projects, of course, the chip and seal project, and then, of course, road maintenance. It's as far as projects, there's no bridge projects next year. Should finish up a Stonewall. We will be hopefully starting the Woolsey Bridge, but that won't be us, so no expenses there. So next year, there's no bridge projects or no bridge projects in this budget.
Okay, so basically it's just the chip and seal, 5
The
miles
reseal.
extra on top of the 53, and road maintenance.
Just the road maintenance grading, doing these hopefully changing out these tile, just improving the roads what we can with what we have.
Refresh my memory, when we went on the roads trip, I thought I heard that we did not paint or stripe the roads, that somebody else did that.
That is correct. We do not do that ourselves. Time Strapping does that for us.
Okay, but it comes out of your budget?
Yes.
Oh,
we pay
okay, I
for
thought it was two separate.
No, it comes out of our budget.
Okay. So, you prioritized,
Sort of.
kind of, sort of. Thank you, Madam Judge. I'm thinking. Thank you.
Sean, let me kind of show you what my dilemma is. I've always tried to support you guys. And I would a whole lot rather give you this $708,000 than I would give the Election Commission $420,000. The problem is that you guys come in dealing with one department. we have to sit here and deal with all of them. You know, it'd be wonderful to have all this detailed information and so forth, but I would like to know exactly to the penny how many dollars we're going to have to spend next year, and I don't know that. So my dilemma is I could support you tonight and have to vote against you in December, you know, the whole budget, because our reserves are so low right now that I'm not sure we're going to make it through 2016 with any reserves at all in the unappropriated reserves. We may not. You don't know all this until the end of this whole process. You know, Treasurer gives us an estimate of how much money we're going to get. It's an estimate. Everything you guys do has to be an estimate. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to cost to run any department from one year to the next. So we do the best we can. But my problem is sitting here where I'm sitting this year, there's a lot of increase in this budget. If I add your $708,000 to the $420,000 increase in the election department, now I'm looking at $1,100,000. See what I'm saying? And then you've got these other increases that are coming along. So by the time it's all over with, you know, maybe a couple of million added to it. So if there's any way you could par some of this back, I would like to see you try to do that. Well, I don't think I can support the $708,000. I would like to, but these guys have already approved the $420,000. So that's there until we get to the final number, and then we're all going to have to make a decision whether to support the whole budget or not.
Right.
And that's the dilemma, sitting around this horseshoe trying to figure it all out.
Right. And I understand, you know, I understand it's a difficult decision, but, you know, I just, you know, I think it's important. You talk about the election commission and all, the fire service was here tonight, sheriff's office. You know, if we can't maintain the roads, nobody can go vote. I know I'm being a little probably way out there, but that's true. You know, they're driving county roads to go vote. Sheriff's office can't patrol, can't go to emergencies. The ambulances can't get to emergencies. Fire trucks can't get to emergencies without the roads. And I'll say it again. It's going to just keep building up. And if we keep cutting back, I just think we're going to wake up one day and these roads are going to be like, just like I said the other day, like some of our neighbors. And once you lose it, it's going to be hard to get back.
Well, surely with $8 million a year, you could keep them good enough. People could go farm to market. You know, I used to live in the country, you know, back in the 1950s when all the country roads were dirt and stuff, and we had no problem.
Right. But some of those bridges from the 1950s are still out there too.
Yeah,
and they need replaced. And you know, I mean, I don't know what else. Like I said, we're just trying to do what's best. The people out in the county, I feel like that's what they deserve. I mean, there's a lot of bridges that need replaced. This doesn't include any of those. It's like I said, it just keeps building.
Well, we talked some time ago about this $1 and some a year coming in from the state that we could redo 6 bridges over a 5-year period. If I remember our conversation properly.
Right.
You know, with that money. I don't know whether that's been set aside now or not, but.
You talk about the half-cent sales tax?
Yeah.
No, that's part of that's in here. It's a separate budget, same fund though. I mean, that money, you know, from 2014 to 2015, if y'all remember, y'all cut the road budget $1.7 million. You know, and like I said, we have adjusted, tried to do the best.
It's been rough, but if we run out of money, it's going to get cut maybe even worse than that.
I agree. I'm just here, you know, just trying to present our case. And
I understand. There's a lot of stuff, you know, I am encouraged by, like sales taxes are going up some, fuel prices are going down. I'm hopeful that things are going to get back to where we get back to more or less normal, which we haven't been the last 2 or 3 years, obviously. And, you know, I keep hoping for that. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. But I just kind of want to let you know how I'm thinking and looking at this thing. if you cut back a little bit and needed it next year and come back and ask for it, I don't see where there'd be a huge problem if the money is here.
Well, that's what we did last year.
Yeah.
And
Well, we
we're
may have
back.
to do that the next 5 years. I don't know.
Right. And I understand that.
And it could get a lot worse before it gets a lot better,
Sure.
too, because our country's in a lot of trouble financially.
Right. I understand what you're saying, and I'm just trying to keep the roads in Washington County from just, going down and just trying to keep them up.
I understand. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Sean, I think I'm a strong supporter of the road system out here. I think Ann reminded us a while back, I think my first year on the court, I made a comment about one of the most important infrastructures we can provide for Washington County is better roads. And I'm still of that opinion. I guess, number one, I had a recollection that we had about $2.5 million left in the road budget this year. Is that right or wrong? Where are we on that?
What's left as of today, I just know the numbers I'm given, and that's.
I believe it's like 1.9. I checked today. I was looking at the right numbers.
Okay.
What you have left.
Well, that's pretty close to, sometime back we were talking about 2.5. So you expect to use all that between now and the end of the year?
Well, that 1.9 or whatever's there, that's not what we have left in our budget, necessarily. But I do want to say, as I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of chip seal, and usually we have that finished by now. Well, those bills have they're out there, so a lot of that's going to be used up. I'm not saying all of it, but that's an expense that usually has already happened. That's not. Those bills haven't been paid.
Okay.
Some of them.
So you think most all that 1.9 will be gone by the end of the year?
No. I'm not
Sir?
saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not
Okay.
sure how much based on what the budget amount we have left.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope we don't use all of our budget. I hope we can get through, do everything we need to do to finish out the year,
Okay.
finish the bridge, and not spend all
Sean,
of it.
one other thing I was thinking about, my observations on the gravel roads I travel and some of the friends have talked to me about recently. Since the large rains we had a couple of months ago, it looks like the gravel roads that I've been on have been really, really much worse. And it doesn't appear to have had hardly any grading. A couple of times right after the rains, it seemed like they were upgraded and graded. But more recently, they've been really, really rough. And I had a friend out west side tell me the same thing, and then one down here in the southeast area, in Ann's area, that was complaining about one that was really rough, and I thought the ones he lived on was rough. But I wondered about grading frequency or things that you've changed there since this recent changes have come about in the road department. What kind of cutback are you going to once a month or once every other month or once every 3 month grading, or what's going on in that regard?
When you say the recent changes, are you talking about the changes in the budget?
No, well, all the issues we had this year with roads and bridges, that it has strained our resources, and you cut back on not doing a lot of projects you had planned. And I'm asking basically how that is affecting your frequency of grading of roads and adding not chip and seal, but adding gravel to these roads. I think Donnie's trying to tell us something here.
That chip and seal has nothing to do with those grading of those roads.
I know.
Those graders run every day. And we try to get the gravel to the roads that's got bad spots on it, but they grade. Each grader guy's got about 38 miles in his district, and he does that in a circle. Always before, when somebody has called and complained, we've shifted that grader and moved him right to that road and graded it. We can't do that no longer because Arkansas won call. And last month, we had 500 complaints called in for dirt roads. It was either the road was rough and needed graded, tiles stopped up, signs bent over. But it was over 500 complaints last month. But as far as that grading, those guys, every day they're at work, they go grade a road. And it takes them, they do about, it takes them anywhere from 8 to 9 weeks to do their district if they grade every day. If
So
they're rained out one day, that adds a day.
So it takes 8 to 9 weeks before they get back to the road they
Till they
last.
get back to that road.
Okay, well, I think that answers the question there, but they've been doing that consistently all this year?
Yep. Those graders run every day.
Okay. Well, I noticed the rains had a large impact on the roads I've been talking about. I mean, big time. And the issues about stopped up culverts or tiles, whatever you want to call them, and the ditches are a major issue there. And guys, I made a comment to Sean recently about having somebody that specializes in talking to these property owners about permits to go ahead and put tiles in some of these places to keep water from coming across the road. And I think if you find try to train somebody that handles all that instead of having your grader operators or whoever happens to be on the scene do that, it would dramatically improve the results there.
And they don't do that.
Our supervisors talk to the people.
Okay.
But I'll guarantee you can go out and talk to everybody in the county, and I doubt very seriously if you could get one person let you put a tile in, run water in towards their house.
Okay. Well, the places I've noticed are not running toward a house.
Yeah.
They're out in the timber and so forth, and places that
But
I don't think
that usually isn't the place that bothers the road either, very often.
Well,
most of the time it's right around somebody's property, and nobody wants water dumped on them. We fight that every day.
Yep. Well, Donnie, I've noticed that the ditches down there on 156.
Yeah,
many
that's
places
the
are
road you
beginning-
talked to me about.
Many of the places along there, the road is beginning to erode because of the water volume that builds up and comes down that road. And 154 is very much similar and very, very rough. And so those are the roads that I'm across more frequently. But
And I want to tell you about those two roads. One of my best grader operators grade those roads, and he does as good a job as he can with them, with what he's got there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I've had compliments from the residents out there about your current operator out there.
He's one of the best we got.
He was praising him for the kind of job he was doing. But the frequency of upgrading or fixing the road seems to have been down instead of up lately. But anyway, one other question about the chip and seal. How many miles of the chip and seal with that dusty stuff did y'all put in?
Well, I went and right now, probably the one that's given us the most problem, but it is what it is Black Oak Road, and I can't remember exactly. It's a little over a mile.
Just 1 mile?
Yeah, we did some others, but they seem to be better. Like I said, I went out and checked them Monday, and I'm not concerned about those. Black Oak, we'll probably may have to redo it, address it next year also.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure glad you changed that situation because that's terrible choice to go ahead and use that dusty stuff. And so the repair cost on that 1 mile won't be that awfully terrible then to go back and try to.
Well, it kind of depends. I mean, we're watching it, going to see.
Okay.
A lot of times, if next summer when it starts heating up, it may bleed through, and we'd have to address it.
Well, guys, I guess, from my observation out there, Donnie's comment about the landowners, and I haven't tried to talk to any of the landowners. I think one I talked to you about, that somebody did agree to go ahead and put a tile in there, and it has dramatically improved that situation. But I'm a very strong proponent of this. Guys, it looks like to me, I don't know what your costs are to go ahead and clean up ditches and clean out tiles where they are crossing the road, because I found a lot of them out that way that are not open, where there's a spring coming down and any rain at all added to the flow of the spring, and it goes right across the road. And so those are the kind of issues I think. I don't know how expensive they are to clean out, to have a crews go do that, but there's a number of them out there that are in that kind of shape.
One thing on that topic, and I know kind of off topic, but last week I went. I know you're a big proponent of the unpaved roads initiative that they've done. I did a two-day class. It was done here in Fayetteville, and there was other judges, other county road superintendents here. And guess which roads I took them to? They called and asked, since they held it here, if I had any roads with problems. And of course, we do. And I took them to 156 and Sugar Mountain and Sealy, those two roads.
Good.
I heard a lot of good comments on our grader operator saying, he's doing really good with what's there. I hope that's a road that we can get some money for.
Me too.
And, fix. We have obviously we have others, but I just want to let you know.
Well, Sean, I know, I'm not advocating for my convenience or anything kind out there, but I know the terrain out there is probably one of the most difficult areas you've got in the county to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that, but I really hope that the state will go ahead and work with you on using that as a project out there, because I think there's a lot of projects that was in that thing we got about Pennsylvania's roads. I was very impressed with the information they provided us there.
That's who taught the class, these two guys from Pennsylvania.
And I identified a lot of different projects that they had solutions for out there on those roads. Springs coming up in the middle of the road and so forth that might have remedies there that would dramatically help improve the condition of those roads on an ongoing basis.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've got one other person I'd like to recognize, and then if we're going to move forward or we're going to need to take a break. J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Judge. I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor. Instead of the $708,000, we just cut that in half, eliminating the $270 for the 2 dump trucks, which would come out to $438 as accepting this.
I have a motion and a second. Okay. Do we have figures on that?
That's just removing the 2 dump trucks from the vehicles, the 270, and leaving the asphalt, the culvert pipe, gravel, dirt, sand, concrete, bridge steel, and the half-cent budget asphalt of $150.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. So now this is an amendment, and this is a friendly amendment. Will you accept it?
I'll accept it as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
That the second needs to accept it as well, or it won't be. But, well, I'd like to hear from Justice Dennis.
Just go ahead and vote on the amendment.
He's not accepting it as a friendly.
Okay. So
But it does have a second. Justice Ecke's amendment has a second. So what you're on now is, and this is debatable, the amendment's debatable. If there is going to be debate, Judge, now would be the probably appropriate time for the recess if you're going to do that.
recess.
I got a question. So sorry. It's Scarlett. Okay, just making sure. Where did and I missed, Monday, but where did the money come from?
Well, the revenue projection by the treasurer increased.
Okay, overall, not just in y'all's budget,
Well, yeah.
right?
No,
no,
yeah.
in y'all's?
I mean, it increased. He changed it. He updated his revenue projections on everybody, and ours had increased dramatically from August.
In 2015,
So
when
that's
you went
why
through the
it was
budget
back.
process, this is what they actually approved originally.
It's just for
And
y'all.
then, they came back and cut it. But you're actually asking for 1.1 million less than they originally approved in 2015. Might want to know that number there, you might not, because I don't think they carry it.
I don't know anymore.
They're just to the point that they're going to sign it and they don't know what's going on.
I'm afraid to say, we're our standalone budget.
But then they're
They
going to go
didn't
back.
want me to do that.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get started. I know it's already been a long evening, and I'd like to see if we can get this finished up so people can go home.
Madam Chairman.
J.P. Dennis.
I will go ahead and give that friendly amendment, or accept that as a friendly amendment. We can
Okay.
move on a little quicker.
Okay, so now,
Judge, that means that the main motion, where's J.P. Ecke?
We're not going to say where she is, but she's not here.
Well, all right. So I'll ask Justice Dennis. My understanding then is that the motion now reads to pass this particular request less $270,000, which by my for two dump trucks, which by my math leaves the request at $338,000.
That's my understanding.
is that
yes.
our understanding? Okay. Then
Now, the main motion is still up for, unless it's been closed, the main motion is still up for debate as amended.
Okay, we got 438.
That's okay. How about I calculate?
Yeah, let's do.
He's doing it okay.
She originally used the words cut it in half.
Well, here she is. So
We'll let her tell us right here. She's here.
I didn't have my glasses on. So I apologize.
Judge, can I engage Justice Ecke?
Yes, would you please?
Justice Ecke, there's some confusion. Justice Dennis has accepted your amendment. He's changed his mind, accepted your amendment as a friendly. But I want to make sure, I think the court wants to make sure too. You initially said, I want to cut it in half, but then you said, I want to cut $270,000, which I agree with Justice Lloyd's math. Now, that would leave 438, which is not quite half. It's whatever percent, but more than half would be left. Is that your intention, is just the 270?
Let's cut it in half,
Okay,
as stated. Just,
He's not going to accept it.
okay, then go with the 438. Let's just go for the 438, removing the two vehicles, okay?
Okay.
now.
Let's work with something.
That's a friendly, that's on, that's the main motion now, is to approve the road department's request at $438,000, and specific items to be cut are two dump trucks for a total of $270,000.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Carly, would you call the roll, please?
Gary McHenry? Yes. Joe Patterson? Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
Daniel Balls?
Yes.
Harvey Bowman?
Yes.
Rick Cochran? Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Sharon Lloyd?
No.
Tom Lindstrom?
No.
Eva Madison?
No.
Sue Madison? Joel Maxwell?
I think it passed.
Judge, I have 8 yes, 4 no, 2 abstentions.
So it,
The motion carries.
okay. So let me find my agenda here again. I think that's all we have, fellas.
All right, thank you.
Huh? Yeah. Thank y'all for sticking around. We appreciate your time and appreciate your effort. And now we've got citizens' comments. Yes, ma'am. We'll get them out of your way. If you will please identify yourself, and then you are recognized.
My name is Christy Weaver. Tonight I have a question to pose to you, the members of the Quorum Court. The question is, what is the greatest asset that Washington County has? While things are necessary to run day-to-day operations, they are not your biggest asset. Christopher Dodd once said, "Our nation's children are our greatest asset and our most precious treasure." Hello, my name is Christy Weaver. I am a 4-H alumni, 4-H club leader, and the proud parent of a current 4-H member. I would like to thank the Quorum Court for the support you have given the Extension Office over the years through the cooperative agreement. I am here to urge you, however, to reconsider fully funding Extension by providing the funds for a full-time 4-H agent. Being a certified teacher with teaching experience in early childhood, elementary, and middle school level education, I know the difference education and training can make on a child, especially at a young age. At the September 29th meeting, the comment was made that there are FFA programs in schools already. I too was an FFA and feel that it is a great program. However, students cannot join FFA until the 8th grade, whereas 4-H membership begins at age 5 and continues through age 19. Students who are in 4-H from age 5 grow up equipped with leadership and public speaking skills. I know there were a couple of JPs who stated at that same September 29th meeting that they felt like the state was passing the buck to the county and that the legislature was not prioritizing extension offices. I have a degree in business management as well as with work experience in banking. I understand at the end of the day that your budget must balance. I also know that you have limited funds. The fact is that the state isn't going to fund the money this year. We are coming to you asking for help. Please don't continue to pass the buck. Show the kids of Washington County that you are making the Extension Office a priority by fully funding 4-H and the Extension. Although 4-H will continue to exist in Washington County without a full-time Extension agent, it will not exist to its fullest potential. Other programs and services offered by the Extension Office will also suffer due to the agents being pulled away from their main job to answer questions, attend events, and provide services and support for 4-H members. Benton County is equivalent to our size, and they have 2 100% full-time 4-H agents. As of right now, we do not have 1. We have 0 4-H agents. Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future." The 4-H slogan is learning by doing. Through hands-on activities, 4-H teaches children valuable life skills that they will use to become tomorrow's leaders. I suggest the millage be reestablished to the previous level to assist with the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You're recognized. Come on forward and identify yourself.
Good evening. I'm Patsy Lauk. I am currently the president of the Washington County Master Gardeners. The Master Gardener program comes under the county extension. We currently have 240 members who volunteered over 13,000 hours in 2014 at 16 projects across the county. Some of those projects are the Botanical Gardens of the Ozarks, Headquarters House right across the street here in Fayetteville, Shiloh Museum in Springdale, Elkins Community Center, Prairie Grove Mock Park, the West Fork Library, and the Winslow Community Development. Our Community Outreach Committee teaches a soil detectives lesson to second graders in schools across the county. As part of Extension, the Master Gardeners and Extension affect and serve not only the rural part of the county, but also the urban part of the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any other comments? Thank you, folks, for coming. I know it's been a long evening for some of you after you've worked all day. We do appreciate your attendance, and you're always welcome, so thank you. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you guys very much.